Good morning. Good morning and welcome to this Dharma sharing occasion. And for me it would be Dharma channeling, not teaching you at all, on the way teasing myself, but not Dharma teaching. It will be Dharma sharing, and at the best Dharma sharing, but mostly Dharma channeling, okay? So, yes, once again, I'm very happy to be back on my Dharma vacation, which I rarely get at where I work. It's work. But I make sure I start my day off with a good motivation and hope that endures through the day, and then renew it next time, and then do it. So, and most uplifting about the work that I do is it's very dear to His Holiness's heart, one of his visions. On top of that, now another one has been added. That too is too very close to his heart. So, not that far off from Dharma, except I need to be focused on and aware of it. Then it shouldn't be that hard to bring in the motivation, bring in the enthusiasm there. But in terms of actual Dharma stuff to get to be involved with, that's not as abundant as I would wish to. So this is actually a Dharma vacation for me. Everything filled with Dharma. So I'll be doing my best in channeling, unless it is a little scary. I'll be doing Dharma sharing. And as always, let's make this meaningful time together and make it as informal as possible, in people feeling welcome to step in and comment, expand, contribute, and so that we will be able to make the most of this time. Yes, unlike the previous few years, where we dealt with hardcore madhyamika, although I tried hard to soften it through the uses of metaphors and analogies, but I'm not sure how soft it might have gotten to you, or has it even become more hardened? So we'll be touching on that partly during the sixth paramita, but other than that, we'll be touching on the other paramitas, which are method aspect practices of bodhicitta, bodhisattvas, to complement with the wisdom. Just so that I have a feel of the audience here, may I have an understanding of how many of you are new to Buddhism? Okay, yes. Okay, so then in that case, we'll be seen jumping the gun a little bit, because we'll be starting with Bodhisattva's practices. So there will be, but I'll try my best, and mostly in our discussions, we could all do a better job in filling in the gaps, and that we cover more ground that is resonant to one's own levels, understandings, difficulties, challenges. Be mindful to bring out, if ever you sense like there is an elephant in the room that is left out, to try to bring them out. I'll do some, and we would all have a difficult time in dealing with that, but that cannot be avoided, right? Otherwise, there will always remain an elephant in the room, and never resolved, never addressed. There are quite a few of them that I myself have come across, and I struggle with them. But at the same time, I have kind of a way. I found a way around. Like, this is the best way. That's something I can accept for now, etc. So there can be such things in any religion, including Buddhism also. So that's important. Otherwise, the Dharma will not be. The Dharma practice will be half-hearted. Will be half-hearted with some part of it not answered, not unless one has, luckily, in such cases, the strength, the force of faith, which is not that easy to come about in this era. In this era. Speaking of which, I was reminded of a line in the three principles, where it has something to do with attachment to future lives. I don't know if anyone has attachment to future lives these days. So I said, who does, what is the relevance there? So that's why when I come across it, okay, this has gone out of relevance, this has gone out of relevance, this has gone out of relevance. So there can be so many things like that. Those are what I meant by elephant in the room or in our hearts. So that would be good to address, find out. And we may not come up with a complete satisfying solution, but nonetheless it's worth struggling with, and then see what are the ways to get around it, how can I get a handle of it? What would be my part of the handle to that sector. So if we could find a handle, then that way we could then at least move forward. Otherwise we could get stuck there, right? Before we go forward, many of you may have seen this computer. Might have wondered if it is the same one or the old one or new one. When I was in India this summer, my niece noticed this, and she got a computer before this. Hers is already gone, already damaged, everything. I said, "Uncle, is this the same old one that you bought after I had my computer?" I said, "Yes." "Is it still running?" I said, "Yes." "How come? How do you manage it?" So I shared my secret to her, which cost some money, which she may not be willing to go for, and that's what might have cost her. So this indeed is the same old one, as good as ever. But so I have a hard time reminding myself, is this impermanent or not? Might even outlive me. Okay, so far so good. I think we broke the ice. On my part also I have to do that, so that we could get the Dharma across both ways. It cannot be just a one-way traffic. It has to be two-way traffic, right? So that there could be some communication, give and take, give and take, give and take, both ways. So this is important. Let it be a Dharma thing. Has to be very true to ourselves. Okay, that's it. Let's have fun. The Dharma definitely should be fun. Fun in the sense that it should be able to address the tense unease within us. When they're gone, what would be left? Fun, joy, ease, peace, right? So that's what Dharma should be able to do. And one has to, every once in a while, check. Like I was saying, in the name of doing Dharma, we could be doing adharma, we could be doing non-Dharma, or bringing in more unease. So those need to be awakened to and dealt with clearly. Like I was saying yesterday, one could be touching on the topic of non-attachment, but one is so attached to the text which deals with it, I can't let go of it. I can't share it with others. I worry if I might lose it. What? Lose what? The text on non-attachment. That which teaches non-attachment. I need to really cling to it. And so goes. There are so many paradoxes that I hope we'll be able to expose through this course in terms of the 6 paramitas, and then have a much clearer and better appreciations of what Bodhisattvas succeed in doing, what they are struggling to do, what they are supposed to do, etc., etc. Okay, so that's it. Yeah, I took this description here from the Abbey's website. After I sent mine in, they put that in, and I liked it. So I owned it. So exploring the dynamics of the paramita practices of bodhisattvas, and that way we succeed in bringing a touch of richness and sophistication, not stiffness, not rigidity, like this. Particularly when it comes to bodhisattva's practice, it is so flexible, so fluid, so sensible, not rigid, not dogmatic. So those need to be understood, and if we could then apply them in our life, they will be worth doing so. Particularly, many of us have already taken bodhisattva vows, and thus if we could arise to what the nuances are, what the sophistications are, then we'll be able to do a better job in living up to the standard that we are looking up to, as well as progress on our spiritual path. So bringing a touch of richness and sophistication in our own daily opportunities of engaging in them. We come across so many opportunities every now and then. Not every now and then, let me almost say 24/7. We come across that opportunity, we may not recognize them, we may diss them, we may miss them, we may spoil them. So that's the idea, the concept behind that. But before we talk about paramitas as the practices of bodhisattvas, we have to first establish the very base of paramita practices, which is bodhicitta. So have to have some sense of what bodhicitta is, what does it entail, what are the challenges, what are the standards put forth, etc. So I'll try my best in doing this, but at the same time, please feel free to always bring richness to the discussion, to the explanation, drawing from your experiences, from your own understandings, learning, etc. Yes. Okay, yes. So bodhicitta. Bodhicitta, the mind that aspires to full awakening. And we need to understand what the basis of that, right? Even for bodhicitta itself, despite being the base for the paramita practice, to be grounded on. Bodhicitta also has to have certain basis for that to be vibrant. But nonetheless, it is very apt to call bodhicitta the jewel of the minds. There can be so many mindsets, but bodhicitta is the most precious. And let that not be just a slogan, but try to have a real, real touch of truth in it. So that's very important to begin with. And then based on that, the paramita practices or the far-reaching practices would then find their vibrancy. It's an extraordinary milestone in our journey of self-development. We all want self-development, self-improvement. And there can be several milestones in that journey. And within that bodhicitta, when we hit bodhicitta stage, bodhicitta milestone, that would be an extraordinary milestone that we would have hit. And from that point onward, the prospects would be also as extraordinary. And here, when we speak of it being extraordinary, we're not comparing it with the ordinary, but even with slightly different, more special than ordinary ones. So among them also, bodhicitta stands out to be a very extraordinary. And the reason for that is, yes, the intention to benefit all sentient beings, which does not arise in others even for their own sake, is an extraordinary jewel of the mind, and its birth is an unprecedented wonder. This is a straight quote from Shantideva, where he marvels at the wondrous nature of bodhicitta and kind of even wonders how come such a wondrous mindset has arisen within us. And it would be almost like an unbelievable thing that has happened. So from here it is clear that when we are speaking of bodhicitta, we are speaking of an intention to benefit all sentient beings without exception. And that too, not for their own sake. It's not that there is a hidden agenda behind this slogan that I'm here for everyone, so long as I get this for myself. Not like that. Not strings attached. It's the true, right, genuine, altruistic intention to benefit all sentient beings. We have difficulty even generating such a wish, even with the string attached also. To all sentient beings? No, I cannot. No, I do not want to. I don't want to go there. I don't want to bother there. Nor do I see anything good for me in there. Right? And we have a hard time kind of attaching the goodness that we gain from that kind of extension, from that kind of allowance. So for us, it is even difficult to generate such a mindset for ourselves. Whereas for bodhisattvas, this is what they have given rise to. An intention to benefit all sentient beings. And there too, it's not just a mere vague sense of intention, with a very strong clarity of what they intend to do to benefit all sentient beings. And we have to see whether that makes sense or not. Whether what they are opting for with the intention to benefit all sentient beings would, if realized, it would definitely be of ultimate benefit to other sentient beings. How does it compare with other ways of benefiting others, etc., etc.? So, from that point of view, it would be quite wondrous a mindset to have. So this is what Shantideva says: the intention to benefit all sentient beings, which does not arise in others, even for their own sake, is an extraordinary jewel of the mind, and its birth is an unprecedented wonder. Unprecedented. In Buddhism, we speak of. So this is one of the elephants. In Buddhism, we speak of beginningless time, beginningless birth, beginningless being in the samsara. Actually, let me share this. I was in a group of philosophy, Western philosophy teachers who were about to go to India to teach philosophy of science to the monks and nuns, and we had some kind of a get-together before going there as a means of acquainting them first with what does a monk look like, what do they wear, how do they talk, what do they eat, how do they think. So I very clearly knew that was part of the reason why they convened that, bringing teachers from other states into Atlanta and then making sure that at least one or two of the monks attended. So we went in there and we discussed, among other things, we discussed philosophy also, where we meet, where we differ. And then at one point we became very close, informal, and one of the professors said, "Come on, there must be something that's creating unease in you, something that may be problematic to you. Come on, there may be something." So we got to that point of knowing each other. So right now, when I look back, I said, "Oh, I missed that opportunity. I could have asked the same question to them and say, what is that unease in you?" So next time I'll be the first one to ask it. But they got the upper hand, so I asked. So I said, yes, this thing about beginningless is very problematic. It's not very problematic. It's a little unease. It's difficult to fathom, difficult to digest. Right? Beginningless, things should start from somewhere. If it's a beginningless, then... And I also shared my own secret research into the text, into the sutras, saying, come on, the masters, the Buddha might come up with something else to say in that section, in that particular section. So I looked, everybody said, beginningless, beginningless, beginningless. Okay, I said, okay, this must be it. Now I won't get anything else. So I said, yes, that's one thing. It's little difficult to fathom, understand. But then I said, given my way of thinking, I don't see any other alternative to this. I said, from my way of thinking, from my way of accepting things to be, like nothing can happen without cause. It just doesn't make sense to me. And if at all, so nothing comes without cause. Everything should have a cause. And with that, then, that means then that the causes of things, should theoretically be traceable. That if we hit at one point and say, this is the beginning, and there's no cause for that, where would that have come from? If anything, even a small thing, not a big thing, but a small thing could have come from nowhere with no cause, then that's very problematic. How come that happened long time ago and not now? Why does that happen to something else but not me? Right? For everything, just for everything that we want, we have to struggle. We have to find a way. We have to get things aligned, and otherwise nothing happens. It may be a matter of whether or not you are able to recognize the cause or not, identify the cause or not. Otherwise, in quantum physics, they do use the term uncaused, causeless, random. But I think that's just a matter of saying we can't find. With our best shot, we can't locate any cause for it. So it has to be. Right? Otherwise, if that's actually, totally causeless, then that would be very problematic. So given that, being my way of thinking, I said, that's the best shot for things to be beginningless. Otherwise, then we will have to land on something that would have no cause of it. Something that has no cause but causing everything would be very problematic. And for something to be able to cause something but itself not being amenable to any causes and conditions, whatnot, almost like not moving at all, how could some process get underway from it? So, etc. So I said, that's one thing that is little unease for me, but at the same time, I say that the alternative is even worse, at least from my way of thinking. The alternative is even worse. So I say, although I don't get a direct answer to it, I can get a roundabout acceptance of it. I can't say this is so because it is this, but I say the alternative. We have in Tibetan logic system, we have what we call, what do you call? When we encounter a certain point where we have difficulty making the case for it directly, then when we try to make case for that by eliminating all the other alternatives, right? All the other alternatives, and be left with that. So that's what I meant. That's the question here. So despite this fact, so coming back to this, so despite this fact that allowing that we have been around in samsara for all this immeasurable, beginningless time, how come such a mind could remain an unprecedented wonder? Looking at our own condition, we can see that. Just look at our condition right here and now. Comparatively speaking, we are very privileged to have, say, from a Buddhist perspective, to have many other possibilities of being born as human being, and with all the faculties intact, and also have had this interest in Dharma, interest in awareness, in kind of doing something positive, doing something meaningful. But despite this fact, and having even generated interest in Bodhicitta, how far off, at least I am, from really giving rise to a genuine here to stay, genuine here to stay, not slip by, but here to stay Bodhicitta. It is very difficult. And if that's the case with our privileged condition and now, then we could make a sense of how, despite being around, despite hanging around for so long, and might even hang around for another so long, maybe no end time, unless we make effort, it is not going to come about easily. Even with efforts also, it will take some long time. And that's thinking of a genuine bodhicitta. And thus it perfectly makes sense of how Shantideva is marveling at this very concept of bodhicitta, and even more so in those who have given rise to this. And then saying that for someone to be giving rise to such a mind which is totally committed to the benefit of others, which not the slightest, what you call vested interest strings attached to it, that's definitely an unprecedented wonder. So that's what bodhicitta is praised to be. So we have to see for ourselves whether we agree to this, whether we see that as that precious or not. We'll try to kind of unpack what it takes to generate bodhicitta, etc. Lex, yes. Yeah, for those who have come across bodhicitta, at least the concept of it, and have a sense of liking to it. And then even for those who have practiced it, coming closer to tasting it, or even generating it within their mind. It is indeed a miracle that has happened. So to convey this concept, Shantideva again says, just like a blind man discovering a jewel in a heap of rubbish, likewise, by some coincidence is a way of saying it. That's how we understand conventionally what coincidence is. Not to say that it is without cause and condition, of course not. But conventionally we have a way of relating to things, saying, oh, this is coincidence. In that we either cannot completely account for the causes one has engaged in achieving it, etc., etc. Not that it has no cause. So, likewise, by some coincidence, an awakening mind has been born within me. It's almost like finding a jewel in no other expected place, but from a heap of rubbish, where people would avoid looking into. But somehow, coincidentally, we looked into it, and voila, we found a jewel in it. And that's because the rubbish would be compared to the rubbish within us. We have so many rubbish within us, right? Or easily accessible. We can just reach there, here and there. Even the so-called jewels within us also come with some traces of rubbish with it. It may be doing something good, so that I'll benefit from it. It be something, but so that I will have. There will always be a rubbish attached to even the good things that we can reach within us. And what to speak of other rubbishes which are true rubbish within us. We have so many of them, right? And that's despite the fact. And to have rubbish in the sense of our own negativities, our own negative outlook. Out of the world of so many choices we have, when we come across a situation, we immediately choose a negative outlook. Something said something. Oh, this must be this. Or something. Not trying to not trying to look at it from a positive way. Not trying to look at it from a constructive way. From other person's helpless situation way, but rather kind of thinking that, oh, that was intended to me, just to harm me, etc., etc. Whereas in reality, we could have chosen so many other optional outlooks. And those outlooks are not reserved by others. It's not that we cannot reach for them. It's just for us to reach for them, for us, if we choose to. I really like this concept. I really like this tradition you have, that we have. When somebody throws a party, after the party is over, there are leftovers there. Next day, they will put it out for everyone to get, and they will make sure everybody knows that that's up for grabs. And they put a label there saying, please help yourself and enjoy. Right? Please help yourself and enjoy. They say, please help yourself. We can do only so much, place it here, but we cannot put it into your mouth. And also we are not so sure which would suit you, which you like or not. So you have to help with it. Once you do so, with awareness, choose what is right for you, then it's for sure that you will enjoy. Otherwise not. So that's why the pleading there, please. And likewise, it's the same case with outlooks. With the given situation, that the outlooks that we can choose from is out there, put up by people, by situation, in writings, in stories, in actual happenings, everywhere. It's filled with those outlooks, and out of all of those, we choose the bad one. And we don't even have a sense of choosing it. It's not like it's automatic. It's because of our habituation into it. We've gone into that track so much that that's like the only option that we choose. Whereas there is a whole world of options that we can choose from. Irrespective of how the situation is. Could be bad, positive, bad, challenging, whatever. But despite that, there is a whole range of options, outlooks that we can choose from, including not even coming up with any. And then that's the same case with emotions also. The kind of emotions that we come up with in reacting to. Yeah, our problem is reactivity. Our problem is reactivity, right? It's almost like automaton. And we react. In most cases, negatively. Unwarrantedly, negatively. So given that fact of the rubbishness within us, of the accessibility of the rubbishness within us, of almost being permeated with the rubbishness within us, even the good ones within us are not spared. Our touch of love, compassion, all of those are all almost like they all come tagged with selfishness, tagged with narrow-mindedness, tagged with whatnot, all of that. So, given that fact, this giving birth to such a mind is definitely an unprecedented wonder. And it should not be a wonder that how come, despite being around for so long, we haven't come across this. So one thing to remember is at least how I understand Buddhism saying is that despite the fact that we have been around for so long, right, from a beginningless time, who knows for how much more, unless we make changes, the changes are not going to come on their own, right? Particularly the changes within us have to come from within us, from our own effort. The other day I came across writing on Goenka's meditation practices, the book called The Art of Living. There he gives an example of Buddha and the scientist. So what matters in our individual improvement, and improvement in a genuine sense all around us at all levels, is improvement or research within. We look within and we look for the causes, the conditions of what bad things lead to, how good things come about, what needs to be done, etc. That too, based on one's own experience. So as a search within and coming up with an experiential understanding, experiential acknowledgement of the processes of what causes what and what is the way out of that. Unless we do so, no matter how much research we do, outward oriented, it wouldn't give rise to, it wouldn't produce or lead us to an actual spiritual revolution. So that's what it takes, and given our own given our own expertise, given our own laxity in doing that, we can see how such a mind being born within someone is an unprecedented wonder. By the way, may I share with you one thing? It is said that in the scriptures, it is said that when somebody somewhere at some time gives rise to bodhicitta, genuine bodhicitta, the earth shakes. It shakes to the extent where the Buddhas are. Like even Buddhas get a message. Ping! Even the ping goes up there. And they say the reason for that is it's an indication that now somebody, somewhere, is breaking off. Breaking off from the common samsaric, condition. So from a Buddhist perspective, karma not only works at the individual level, but also it operates at the environmental level, at where we are. It's a common contribution. So somebody giving rise to bodhicitta, and maybe somebody giving rise to bodhicitta signals that somebody is breaking up from that common dirt pool. From the common dirty pool, now somebody is saying, I'm not going to have anything to do with it. I'm going to part away with it. And that's what marks it. Irrespective of whether it's literal or not, it does make sense. Anyway, so that's how the mind of bodhicitta is so marvelous. So right now I'm just throwing praises and praises to bodhicitta, and then we'll embrace how this can be ours, and what are the challenges, and be realistic in that. Okay, then next one. Yes. So much has been said. So much has been said in appreciation of bodhicitta. But what is bodhicitta? Right. So that's the practical question. According to Maitreya's ornament of clear realization, he has given the best shot in defining bodhicitta. Best shot in that it's concise and to the point. Yeah, it says, bodhicitta is for the sake of others, for the sake of all sentient beings, wishing to attain complete, perfect enlightenment. Saying, solely for the sake of all sentient beings without exception, I wish to attain full, perfect state of awakening. Saying, I want to be a fully awakened being, so that I could be of the utmost benefit to all sentient beings without exception. So that's the wish. And how would one define complete perfect enlightenment? That's when all of the negativities within us, including up to the very subtlest dregs of it, up to the subtlest stains or traces of it, would have been completely eliminated. And in place of it, all of our positivities would have attained full awakening. Full awakening in the sense that all of our positivities, like love, compassion, tolerance, wisdom, etc., would have reached full awakening, fully awakened, that none of those positivities still remain to be activated. There's no potentials, nothing left at their potency level at that point. That is all fully awakened. And under the weight of that, none of the negativities, even to the subtlest traces, stand a chance ever to pop its head. So just imagine that. Speaking about this, I cannot help but think of the movie Lucy. I shared this earlier also. Not that I am a very, very avid movie watcher. Or maybe so. Who am I to justify it? But yeah, somehow I got invited to this picture movie, and it's a what do you call sci-fi? It's a sci-fi, scientific fiction. Where it tries to explore what would happen if, say, all of our neurons can be activated fully, simultaneously, totally. Right? So that kind of imagination doesn't leave a space for some neurons to be gone, taken away. It means keeping everything intact, and then have them all fully awakened. That means negativities, positivities, everything would be there. It would be right? Full bunch of everything, negativities, everything there too at the full awakening. So that's what happens. what you see in the movie. I'm not going to share. Oh, it's so negative, so destructive. At the same time, so capable of breaking into everywhere, being everywhere at no time. All right, showing up everywhere it likes. Yet at the same time, being able to destroy what it wants to, and destroy it does so massively, with nothing coming in its hand. That would actually happen if such thing were to happen. But when we speak of full awakening, it doesn't leave the room for the negatives. Whatever is in there, everything remaining intact and except fully awakening. No. It is just the nature of law of opposition. When the positivities grow, negativities would have no choice but to mitigate, but to be undermined. And so is the case with, if the negativities go up, the positivities would have no choice but to be undermined, to mitigate. Right? And then from a Buddhist perspective, good news is negativities, the negative emotions, the negative praises, negative potentials, all depend for their lifeline on a misperception. So, if it is a misperception, no matter how strong it may be, it always has the liability going with it to be ever eradicated, to be ever exposed. But it wouldn't happen by itself. We have to make effort. Whereas on the part of the positivities, as much as it may be smeared and mixed with negativities at our level, like our love comes with some kind of a compromise, right? So be that grounded in misperception, be that kind of compromise with some mixture of attachment, hatred, even, etc., etc. But love, as such, doesn't have to be. And the impurities of it is almost like the gold. When you mine it, it comes with those impurities. But the impurities do not go into the very nature of mind, so much so that they cannot be extracted. They can be. So is the case with the positivities within us. They can be, and the good news is they do not. They do not necessarily depend on a misperception for its lifeline. And how so? Just to give you an example, for us to be compassionate towards others, it is not necessary for us, although we do depend on a misperception of projecting suffering as inherently existent, etc., etc., ourselves included. We look up to us, the suffering, the others, in the light of being inherently existent, which is a misperception, but it doesn't necessarily have to depend on such a misperception for us to give rise to love and compassion. On the other hand, not on the hand, on the contrary, we could have even stronger love and sense of love and compassion if we expose that kind of a misperception and be able to see everything in the light of being dependently a reason. Merely dependently a reason, we could even get even stronger boost for love and compassion. Because it is the misperception that is giving rise to sufferings, that is underpinning our suffering, our unenlightened condition. And once we expose that, and that exposure, that confronting to the reality gives us even a stronger boost to be more compassionate. So goes the same with understanding, love, etc., etc. So that's on that line, we're making this case. From a Buddhist perspective, we're making this case. Yes, there's this possibility for such thing as becoming fully awakened. Given the fact that the negativities, no matter how entrenched they may be within us, they have no choice but to depend on a misperception for its lifeline, whereas the positivities do not have to. So it is. So without calling it an elephant, I'm touching on those, trying to say how it is possible. So bodhicitta is for the sake of all sentient beings, wishing to attain full awakening. Of course, in the process of developing bodhicitta, in the process of one's growth towards developing bodhicitta, one has to deal with all these topics. I mean, one has to even weigh what is the best for others. Even say for one's own son, daughter, friends, family members, whatnot. What is the best? We all want them to have the best, but what is the best? How far giving a gift, material gift, goes? And does it ensure that they are much better off in the true sense or not? What would be a better gift? I'm really tickled by this expression where it says, the best present is being present. You don't give any being present, not being the present, or you could say being the present. But all it takes to do is be present to their condition, to their genuine condition, to their liabilities, weaknesses, whatnot, and then try to come up with something, try to cope up with them. Not let it be merely confined to a material gift. How far it goes? Who knows that in the course of having that, possessing that, it could cause more distress. So I don't need to expand on it, but yeah. So in the process of cultivating this, it takes weighing these questions. We say, may somebody be happy, but what is happiness? How would somebody be happy? Where is happiness to be situated or to be given birth to? On the body, in the mind, etc., etc. So weighing all these, then the best shot that the Buddhas could come up with, even in the scriptures it says, for eons, Buddhas have pondered over how best to benefit sentient beings. All they could come up with is bodhicitta. Not an array of things, but this bodhicitta. Now we will begin to see how it is, but right now we're thinking of how practical it is, how realistic it is. Not realistic in the sense of how realistic and practical, easy to generate it, but how realistic is the perception itself, how realistic is the attitude itself. Given our own condition, we can make a case that yes, provided we make effort, we can at least inch towards it and eventually may realize that. But with whatever effort we make, any amount of development we see within us, we can see how that is far better for oneself and for others in terms of the present, in terms of really meaning to benefit others. Okay. Yes, can we move? Yes. I've come across somebody. Somebody is writing, not somebody in actuality, but somebody is writing. I was really taken in by his work. But I have to really check who this is. But he says that it is significant here. It is significant here that for the sake of others comes first in the definition, as it reminds us where to place the focus of our attention. And this is very true to the actual spirit of bodhicitta also. Bodhicitta, you will find two aspects here. For the sake of others is other-oriented, oriented towards others' welfare, and then wish to attain enlightenment. Here we are wishing to attain enlightenment ourselves for the sake of all sentient beings. So there are two aspirations attached here. One is the aspiration to benefit others, and then the other is to aspiration to attain full awakening oneself. Of the two, in terms of generating, in terms of the sequence, the first one, for the sake of others, the aspiration to benefit others is the cause, is the driving force that makes us think strongly in what needs to be done, what could be done, etc., etc. And in the meantime, we then land on to say, yes, this is it, that I need to work to attain full awakening. Even before I attain there, the journey between, provided I stay true to my direction and intention, whatever development I gather on the path, it is going to be worthwhile to have, and that would definitely contribute to benefiting others at their respective stages, at the level of my own capacity. But definitely, in terms of helping others in a true sense, that would definitely go in that direction. And then, if I transcend the whole journey to eventually fully attain full awakening, then yes, the prospect is complete. At least from one's part, there will be nothing wanting, nothing short, nothing wanting in being able to respond to the sentient beings' needs, so long as they are able to sense it, they are able to receive it, they are able to, they are able to make use of it with the conditions on their part being fulfilled. Remember, it's still stays put on the notion that yes, things are causally related, and that they cannot be an independent thing or a one-sided thing that could affect others, but rather for things to be affected on their part too, there has to be conditions met to be affected. Yeah, so let me still indulge and dwell on the praises of Bodhicitta for some time. And then, I don't know if this is a tactic that works, but in the scripture, in the traditional scriptures, this is the tactic that is, put forward. That's a tactic that's being advocated. First, share the benefits of it, the good things about it. This is so good, this is so good, this is so good, this is so good. Who wants it? Okay, now it's not that easy. We have to go step by step in doing this. So it seems like this is still true in this era. Okay, so yeah, in the scriptures, particularly these praises I take from Shantideva's, where in his chapter 3, he showers praises to Bodhicitta, marvels at what it can do, provided we have even the slightest taste of it. Says it is like a supreme nectar. In the traditional accounts, nectar is associated with its capacity, its efficacy in dealing with death. That nectar keeps us, or nectar protects us from the evil of death. That it can recover us from the mouth, from the clutches of death. So likewise, Bodhicitta, it puts to death, even if we have a tinge of a Bodhicitta, it puts to death to so many dirts within us. I want to benefit all sentient beings, whatever that difficult guy, even that included. It puts to death some kind of a, a lingering negativity, animosity towards that. Because even that is someone that I want to benefit. And then how are you going to do this? To be able to benefit all sentient beings for their own sake, not for anything that I would gain from that. It shuts down our selfishness. Likewise, within the umbrella of bodhicitta, all the negativities that we tend to cling to, be that jealousness, be that hindering someone, be that coming in the way of somebody's achievement, be that anything. Sometimes even harmful intention, etc., etc. All those are shut down if we have even a glimpse of bodhicitta within us, which is benefiting others, and that too benefiting in the ultimate sense, in that nothing is left out within that range. If what we aspire for is full awakening for the sake of all sentient beings, what about partial awakening, some progress towards that? All of those will be included in it. So there will be no such thing, no one kind of benefiting others that will be left out. Like, I'll benefit him or her in this respect, but not this, not this. So anything that comes up as a way of benefiting others would have been already acceptable. So that's like no exception to any kind of heartful feeling, heartful action, heartful reaction to others. And then we will see how bodhicitta, for it to have the strength that it is expected to, it would have so many layers of very positive cultivations as its foundation. It will be grounded on so many positivities, and we will begin to see that later on in terms of gratitude, in terms of appreciation, etc., etc. Love, compassion, all of those would have been already, already presumed in generating a sense of bodhicitta. Otherwise, without them, bodhicitta will not be given rise to. So that's how, with the bodhicitta, it serves definitely like a supreme nectar, putting death to so many, debilitating, harmful intentions, and from the intentions, the actual conditions that come out from that. Those are all put to death. So it says that it is not just nectar in relation to dealing with the conditions of death or death-like situations, but it is the supreme among them. And then it says, inexhaustible treasure, uvaseva, treasure that can address the poverty of beings. Very often, all of the problems that we face, usually we think of problems in material sense. And those are themselves, and at the same time, many of the aggravating conditions, many of the aggravating elements that kind of makes those situations worse, are because we have a very unique poverty, not poverty just of material things, but poverty of sensibility, poverty of positivity, poverty of positive emotions, poverty of positive outlook. That's what bodhicitta, someone who gives rise to that, projects, reflects, but in their own case, bodhicitta kind of meets up with all of those poverties, all of those shortages. And then the next one, supreme medicine. And likewise, we could relate to all different kinds of illnesses that we are subject to, that we are susceptible to. And towards that, medicine, bodhicitta, can be the best medicine. Even in terms of acquiring the physical medicines also. The availability, etc., could be assured when we have someone dealing with it, associated with it, having bodhicitta-like mind that has no self-vested consideration at all other-oriented and to the fullest extent possible. And likewise, it addresses so many of the ills within us, illnesses. In the scriptures, we speak of the three jewels. The metaphor used for them, right? The analogy used for them is the Buddha is like the doctor, medicine, the Dharma is the medicine, and the Sangha is the nurse. So, from a Buddhist perspective, all of us are ill. We are all sick. We have these illnesses within us that we are all plagued with. And they come up, pester every once in a while. And not only pester us, but pester others also. They fester and they inflict ourselves and others. So in such case, we could resort to so many other lesser medicines like love, compassion, joy, tolerance, whatnot. But if we could have bodhicitta, that would be like a panacea that can address all the ills because of the ingredients that go into making it. Someone may be very tired, walking, and that happens to be in a desert, now looking desperately for an oasis where there may be water and there may be a tree to stand, to sit under. Bodhicitta really serves like that for oneself and for others also. For those who are tired of having traveled, trod on the barren land of samsara, bodhicitta, be that in terms of clicking onto it oneself, or be that in terms of encountering someone and participating in their activities. It would definitely seem like being under a restful tree. Then one gets a respite from the tiredness. And then next one, protective deck. Very often you will see samsara being likened to an ocean. Not just deep, wide ocean, but ocean inundated with, flooded with. Do you say, what is the term? Filled with dangerous animals, including sharks. Very often we hear shark attacks, right? So maybe shark may be a good example here to kind of alarm us. But this scripture speaks of so many, dangerous, harmful animals infesting the ocean of samsara. So supposing ourselves being in such an ocean, what would be a relief to have a deck standing there, an open deck to kind of climb up to and then stand on and be kind of at least unreachable by those animals. That's what bodhicitta provides for oneself. And also projects that blessing, projects that possibility to others. What? Yeah, soothing moonlight. It has that soothing moonlight. Right? It has that soothing ray that it exudes to oneself and to others. If someone is infused with bodhicitta, the very presence will be felt very differently. It will be like the whole of their being is permeated with bodhicitta. All of the cells are infused with bodhicitta. It will be interesting to see how cells react, or how the activity within cells do differently when somebody is really infused with love and compassion and maybe bodhicitta. It will be good to see how they react. They can be spared from the influence of it. So yes, not just to ourselves, but to the cells within us, to the organisms within us, and then outside of us. Everywhere we go, we carry that moonlight with us for anyone, everyone to share and benefit from. I mean, it is quite imaginable. So imagine ourselves kind of starting our day. You have this expression, or we have this expression of wishing someone, may your day start off with a, may your day, what's the expression you say? May it have a good, something to use with start off. Have a good day? Yeah, but there is an expression where you use the start off something. Hope that your day... Pardon? Okay, okay. But basically, it is what Venerable says, that may your day be good. Starting it off, may you have gotten a good start to the day. But it has something to do with start off. Okay. So anyway, what it is saying is that starting a day with a good motivation. In Buddhism, it is very much emphasized, right? Starting a day with good motivation and then carrying it along the day, infused with that sense of, with that sense of, come what may, I'm not going to harm anyone. Come what may, I'm not going to harbor any harmful intention towards anyone. If possible, I'll try to be kind and loving and joyful, compassionate to others. If we move around, if we start off our day with such a motivation, and then kind of remain mindful to that through the day, through the challenges and needs and demands of the day, we can imagine how that would be soothing to us, and also to soothing to others in terms of how we speak, how we conduct ourselves. We would be very, very much in touch with that motivation. And for us also, we can expect to now move about lightly, move about and at ease, in peace. And one thing that I always am reminded, it's just almost automatic to remind ourselves, myself included, is that when we say I'm not going to harm others, it doesn't mean that you do not get things done. It's just saying that I'm going to get things done differently. That is so important. And nothing is excluded. Like, oh, if you are not harmful, and then you cannot solve this problem. I'll be happy if you challenge me. If you say, whatever this. Anything could be solved. It doesn't necessarily have to be with a harmful intention. If at all we do pursue with something with a harmful intention, we are ourselves bracing to an unpredictability, bracing up to something that would be within out of our control, and we it's almost like giving up our own sense of being in charge. And there's no telling where this would lead to, and how successful it would be. If at all we achieve something, it would be very short-lived with so many side effects. If that's the case with an intention that I'm not going to harm someone in a relatively, worldly, common understanding, then what would be the case in having bodhicitta within us? And then bright sunlight. Bright sunlight, let me see how it is used here. Let me see, okay, yeah. Bright sunlight in the sense of shedding light on the dark corners. Bodhicitta, just from the sense of that allowance, that no matter what may come, I'm not going to harm anyone. On top of that, I'm going to help anyone. That too, to the ultimate sense, to the optimum level possible. It's almost like shedding light to all the darknesses, dark corners of our dealings with others. Dark corners in the sense of a sense of mistrust, a sense of harmfulness, and sense of unease, etc., etc., or taking advantage of, etc. All of those would have been exposed, all of them would have been dispelled. It's like this full clarity with which you pursue. And with that kind of a pursuance, the options that you begin to see will be much more richer. Very often the negativities have this impact of what you call narrowing the lens of how much we sense, how much we see, whereas Bodhicitta deals away with that. So it is like a bright sunlight, not just sunlight, but bright sunlight, like in a fully open, clear sky. Next is if there is any. Oh, okay. So this is what I was earlier saying, that the Buddhas for eons pondered over this question of what would be the ultimate benefit of all sentient beings. It's Bodhicitta, starting with Bodhicitta and realizing the Bodhicitta's aim is the best. And likewise, there is an expression in Shantideva's text accordingly, where he says that the Buddhas churned the milk. The Buddhas churned the milk of Dharma, all in unison. Say, 1, 2, 3. They churned the milk of Dharma together. All they got is Bodhicitta in the sense of the butter. So it is like the butter essence from the churned milk. So those are expressions, right? Those are epithets or expressions of praise to Buddha, Bodhicitta. Now we have to see for ourselves, from our own intellectual, conceptual understanding, as well as from our own little baby steps of practices, to kind of come to terms with this and begin to feel even more and more inspired by it. Because this is a big deal. This is not going to come about overnight. Overnight is a total exaggeration, not just overnight, over many lifetimes. Okay, so then, yes. So that's the reason why when it comes to thinking big, it is impossible to think bigger than Bodhicitta. I challenge you, come up with a bigger thought. What about going to moon? Or to Mars? Or to somewhere else? Again, this is credit to this other person that I came across his writing of. Wonderful. He dwells on Bodhicitta topic. He seemed to have really studied Shantideva's texts thoroughly, and he has kind of compiled the essence of it, and he comments on it in an article. And there's a book by him. I don't have the name of it, but at least what I thought is in this he really gets it. And I'm really moved by it. He says that yes, when it comes to thinking big, in terms of thinking big, it is impossible to think bigger than Bodhicitta. So that's living out love, universal compassion, universal tolerance, all of those. Even those pale in comparison to Bodhicitta. In a way, Bodhicitta comes with those as basis. No motivation is more altruistic, noble, and worthwhile. And the reason for that is as follows. Yes, because it encapsulates numerous agents of transformation within one single motivation. Wow, it's a compact. This is again from the same person, except some of the points I have added to it, although those are all implied in his assessment. By the way, the person is called David Michi. If any of you are familiar with him, yeah, David Michi, Chie, yeah. It explains in the article. He's explained as he's an internationally best-selling author of a number of books about mindfulness, meditation, and Buddhism. Actually, the reason why I was taken in by this is when I was in India this summer for the science intensive program. It just coincided, of course, with conditions. It coincided because they were planning for it, except I thought it was coincided because I didn't plan for it. It just coincided with the monastery's annual, annual, if you will, annual brainstorming, if you will, annual brainstorming for 2 days each of every one of the treatises. So at the monastery we have such thing called, at the big monasteries we have such thing called Zindangbe Dokje, which means brainstorming or discussion among the cream scholars. And these days they allocate 2 days each for each of the treatises. There we don't debate like we usually do. We are all seated with the senior monks in front and the students from higher up classes surrounding it. There will be mic everywhere, and the questions will be asked by the junior students, and the teachers are they have to answer, and they will deal with so many of the texts. Like in the scripture, this says this, whereas it says this. This is a contradiction. The teacher says, "Slow down." And he explains, and somebody says, "Oh no, I have something else to say." That's how they build on it. It's so interesting, so good. So I have my visit there. After the program was over, I took 10 days off. So it just perfectly fitted with my schedule. So I went there. Oh, so very surprisingly, I was among the senior monks. So generations have passed, right? I myself remember sitting in those classes being one of the younger students, way back, and then kind of being the eager one to raise questions like, maybe I'll make a point here. I could see doing Dharma not dharmically. Let me see if I can silence them. Now looking back, I can see how that was not skillful. So I coincided with that session and spoke about my experiences in the West. I say, not at length, but in between I said, may I say something here in related to this? And I say, yes. And then also I will draw from my experiences, my being here. So I raised the question about empathy, the emotion, etc. Very interestingly, you may not believe this, but in the Tibetan traditional scriptures, we don't have a set, established term for emotion. So interesting. But there are explanations about it. Not that there is a single, term to refer to that class. Because in the Eastern tradition, at least from the Buddhist perspective, we don't divide or classify mental states into emotion and cognitive. We're not interested in that. We're lumping them together and we make distinction between what are destructive and what are constructive, what are positive and what are negative. Be that among the cognitive components or emotional components. But just don't divide it among them. And so is the case with empathy. Empathy, as much as you may think that, empathy must be touched there, must be there. How come Buddhists could miss that, right? But empathy, as it is understood in the modern time, where you apply that both for negative and positive, right? You empathize with others' joy, happiness. Also, you empathize for others' sufferings, whatnot. So empathy is the composite thing that relates in both of these ways. But we only have terms that addresses just half of empathy, another half of empathy, but not together. So I raised this saying, can you imagine, in our text, we don't have terms for this. Or at least I challenge, we don't have. Who has an answer? So that's how I raised my question. But here, not with an intention to make a point. But I was just saying, sharing. See, since I've come from West, my exposures there, I may have to contribute something else and leave the others to others. So in that discussion, what came about was, somebody said, all we hear from the West is love and compassion, no bodhicitta. How is it that? That really struck me. How is that you make a big deal about both love and compassion, but hardly anyone speaks about bodhicitta? Wow! That knocked me down. Oh yeah. I can see some reasons behind that. But nonetheless, that is a very valid question, at least from a Buddhist perspective. Yes, what could exceed, what could excel bodhicitta in terms of a mental attitude? Right? So that's the reason why I think maybe around that time I may have made my mind to dwell on paramitas. That's when I was at Tepung, when I just hit the deadline. I put it off, and in the website it says to be decided, not yet decided. And I was drawing close to the deadline. I said, I must come. But luckily, or coincidentally, who knows? Karmically, whatnot. That made. And I said, yes, I definitely cannot merely deal with the 6 parameters, but dwell on bodhicitta, which is very fitting in the initial. So yes, it's because it encapsulates numerous agents of transformation, even from a scientific point of view. These days there are researchers in contemplative sciences, and they say so many good things about love, compassion, tolerance, sense of gratitude, appreciation, perception of similarity, all of those. All of those are inbuilt in bodhicitta. And in a way, bodhicitta is the crystallization of all those blended together in their own right doses. So yeah, a new sense of purpose with the potential to transform our thinking. A new sense of purpose, new sense of making use of our life here for the benefit of others. That too, without discrimination. Again, it doesn't mean kowtowing. Do you say what? Kowtowing. 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 Okay. How come you say kowtowing if when the spelling is kowtow?
It is kowtow.
Kowtow? Okay. Kowtowing. Yeah. But it doesn't mean kowtowing. It doesn't mean surrendering. Being of benefit. Nor does it mean completely neglecting one's duty, one's obligations, one's responsibilities, expectations. Yeah, a big picture perspective then to the here and now. It's not rushing to here and now, fixing things here and now. Kind of really taking time and kind of thinking long term. And really doing a good research in what in ultimate sense is going to be beneficial. It doesn't mean that you wait until that time to do anything. No. You aim to that. You aim big and move towards that. And in the process, gather all the elements that would then kind of bring you closer and closer and closer. So it doesn't mean waiting until that and not doing anything, but rather being very present to the opportunities on the way And that's the only way by which you could boost one's energy, one's strength, and enhance the process of moving closer to realizing the aim. So it is a big picture perspective that we are going to take, that Bodhicitta entails, and not just be limited to here and now. But even here and now is not shut out. Even the here and now is not omitted. It is taken into consideration, but for what it is, not overemphasizing on it, not overrating it, and kind of aligning it to a big picture perspective. And then, yes, it is an emphasis on inner processes, then arranging our external world, not locating our sources of problem only in the external world. Of course, when we do that, it can solve things to a certain extent, but it would have its own limitations. Fixing external things would only result in refixing external things, but doesn't necessarily have to automatically rearrange our inner way of thinking it. And we are all aware of this. When a new gadget comes, you think like, oh, this is it. Now nothing needs to be done. All we need is just this. Oh, when we have it again and again, it in itself begins to, if I may use the term, okay, I will not. It itself begins to, it itself begins to bring pain. Right? Oh, that happens. I mean, with the material things, it's almost like, if only I could have that, then it'd be done. Once you get it, okay, if only I could have the next one, then I will be done. Like that. And along with that comes so many of the needs and the worries and whatnot. So there's nothing wrong with pursuing external development, but if we limit our time only in doing that, that would be an awful way of wasting our time. Our time is limited. The other day, when I first heard about my friend's death, partly I immediately thought about what remains of him on the earth. We are all visitors, we come and go. Now the main thing is what we leave behind. Trashes. We do leave trashes behind, but more so, sometimes additionally, even if as though that's not enough. And in the long run, what really matters is not necessarily or not just exclusively what we have done, but how we have done, in combination with what we have done. That is going to matter. Even in terms of what products we produce, depending on how we proceeded in it, in terms of our mindset, in terms of our intention, etc., etc. Depending on that, that would have the benefit, that would have the result, that would have the benefit to others. And I see that very strikingly clear when I put texts written by Buddhist masters. Among so many similar texts, Shantideva's Guide to Bodhisattva's Way of Life kind of stands out. Whereas the same message you will see in others. Why is it that this is still performing its function? How is it that this is still so extraordinarily serving others? Same message you can find in so many texts. It makes me wonder. So I think it is not so much what we do exclusively, but how we do in combination with what we do. Let me include what we do, although I may tend to even trash that and say more important things are how we do. But to sound realistic, maybe palatable for the time being, I say, in connection with what we do, how we do, combined matters more. And in terms of the person himself or herself, That's for sure. It's totally how you do that matters, not how what you have produced. Because you carry with you, if at all there is a continuation, you carry with you how you proceed with it, but not what you produced. The what you produced is out there. You don't carry it with you. But how you produced it is what you have left a trace within you. With what kind of motivation, intention you pursued, with whatever you did, however petty or big thing it may be. That's all that's going to leave a trace within you. And that's what you're going to carry. That's what would kind of define one's disposition, one's reactivity, or on one's responsiveness to things. So in terms of the individual himself or herself, that's exclusively, I may say, or let me push my agenda, it is exclusively how you do, not what you do. But for the benefit of others, maybe what you do also counts, but definitely with how you do. Because in terms of how it addresses the problem, how it sustains through problems, how it kind of keeps away from other side effects and whatnot, to a great extent, what you have infused into their work in terms of what your motivation was, how you perceived it, makes a big difference. I think so. So that's why, yes, emphasizing the inner process is so important.